اگر پرسیار شتیشتان هبه من پرسیار شتکان کم به انگلیزی. So anybody have questions and
I want to ask James questions. Do you think today it's in Middle East is again same as the First World War from beginning, because they try to make Turkey a strategical place, and I'm sorry about the language, but and that Sky T-shirt agreement, is it finished after 100 years now? Will be new agreement? Will be new design in Middle East, or? The Sky T-shirt agreement in the First World War.
So basically the agreement that was made.
Called Sky T-shirt agreement? Yeah. Is that finished in 100 years, or that agreement will go forever?
Basically it goes.
Yeah. And do you think will be another attack to Kobani? Because when Turkey attacked Afrin, that was before election, and in the March it will be another election. So Turkey now Erdogan talking about attack to Kobani or somewhere else.
To the top of this.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Hakim, so basically you're just asking about, your questions are weird today.
When Turkey attacked Afrin, that was before election. Okay. So in the March, going to another election in Turkey. So before any election, Turkey need to do some things, show to the nationalist people, to Erdogan power. So Erdogan now talking to attack Kobani or somewhere else in Rojava.
Okay. So he's talking about if Erdogan is attacking Rojava and Afrin. Sorry, I thought when you said attack, I thought you were talking about Atatürk.
Erdogan attack.
Okay, sorry, thanks. So the question is.
I think the point that's been made here is that in the run-up to the elections recently, Turkey, Erdogan, needed to come across very nationalist to the Turkish people. He had to come across militaristic in order to appear to be strong and to identify that there was enemies out there that we needed to unite to fight against. And he used the attack on Afrin as a national manoeuvre, a symbol of Turkish strength fighting the terrorists of the PKK, and that's in order to wind up and rally the nationalist sentiments within the electorate. So he got the NHP, for example, to side with him, and that, so the election was not fought necessarily just as the AKP, it was fought as a very much a nationalist Turkish struggle against the enemy all around us, the Kurds people, the Americans, everybody else who was out to get to Russia. And I think the concern is that in the run-up to the next election, he needs to do the same sort of thing, which, and your question therefore is, do we think that in that context, is it likely that therefore he'll target Kobani and there'll be more military attacks on Rojava in order to, again, rally the nationalist sentiments within Turkey? And I think that analysis is pretty good, yes. I think that's certainly what happened. And I think there's no doubt that Erdogan will use all of those ploys to rally the nationalists, the Islamic and nationalist people in Turkey behind him, so that they see him as the only person who can unite the country against all these evils. And I think you're right, that's likely to be his continued situation. Because see, when you look at the actual election, the referendum result, Erdogan won the referendum on a very small margin, and we know he fixed it, because he had to cancel out lots of votes against the changes to the constitution. He banned lots of the opposition politicians, and he only just barely won that election. So he doesn't have the majority of the Turkish people or the Kurdish people on his side, and therefore he has to manoeuvre, he has to cheat, he has to lie, he has to put people in jail in order to win these elections. And even in the election, general election, the presidential election when he won, he had to ally with the MHP, and he only just got over the 50% barrier there as well. So Turkey, Erdogan does not have a huge majority support in Turkey. And that's the point that Jim was making actually. There's lots of Turkish people have not supported Erdogan as well. And you know, part of the challenge here is to how you build allies in that kind of situation. But of course very difficult when he keeps putting people in jail and shooting them and arresting them and making it more difficult to organise an opposition. So I think the context of the political situation in Turkey is, as you described, it's militaristic, it's nationalistic, it's Islamic in its character, and he will look for foreign adventures, foreign military struggles to prove that he's the one to lead the country forward. So I think there's a very dangerous situation.
And in relation to Afrin, I just wanted to say that the UK government finds this justified, that they've attacked Afrin to protect its borders. So basically the UK government are basically allowed Turkey to invade Afrin for the protection of its borders. I mean, I don't understand it at all, because the Afrin it's beyond its borders, but this is the UK's justified argument that Turkey, the NATO ally, they are protecting their borders and they are allowed to do so against terrorism.
I think Turkey, the First World War is finished 1918, and British Empire stayed in Istanbul until 23. So 5 years stayed longer, and British Empire moved from Istanbul without any war. So when they make Commonwealth countries, I think Turkey is secretly in the Commonwealth game, because recently, well, I may say when Erdogan came here, may say to Kurdish community or Kurds terrorists. Even leave news, PKK name will just say Kurds. And also recently, British government helped Erdogan $17 billion. Now they have a big agreement. We really don't know.
You know, I would answer what you're saying just now is that in terms of what we're discussing here this evening, I don't see that as anything, really. I think what Erdogan does, I mean, when he came out with a statement on Khashoggi and spoke about Saudi Arabia's, the communications that they had together, on the very same day that he made the statement, which you can get online, what did he, how many arrests did he make of the Turkish operation on that day? He got rid of something like 300 muhtars, pronunciation maybe crap, you know, but community leaders, we might say, within Turkey. On the same day, there was all this stuff that went on. None of that is reported here in the UK. As Garrett, apart from perhaps a left-wing newspaper, there's maybe one in the UK, Morning Star. I can't think of any other. There is no information that will get out whatsoever. We can talk about all of these things just now. No information will go to the British people. What you're having to talk about right now, or it should be to me, is how do we mobilise? It doesn't matter what Erdogan does. The people who are in charge there, the far right who are in charge are made up of Moses profession, lawyers. Erdogan's a strong man, but if somebody kills you tomorrow, the same people will be in power. And Russia will still want this, and America will still want that, and the Middle East will still be here. And the lines that applied in 1918, 1921, they were also run through Lebanon, Palestine, right across, you know, it was the whole of the Middle East. It's not simply we're talking here, we're talking about the former Ottoman Empire, as people here knows. And and Turkey just settled for this little piece. But there's no point, in a sense, talking about electoral politics in Turkey, in Britain, in America, and so on. We know that the British state and any other state is acting for capital, big business, and how to keep it in place, a global economy. In order to try and break through that, you have to look at other experiences. This is surely what Öcalan does, and PKK. When they are looking at what is a nation state, that was part of why PKK altered course, because it was their realization that this is not 1918, and it is not 1948, it's not even 1968, it's 2018, and we're going back to a time when that way of looking at states does not exist. You'd be as well looking at how Kurdistan was in 1818 would be a better way of looking at it. In terms of organisation, 150 years ago, to see how do we organise, how do we mobilise? How did the wall come down? What happened in Russia when people start to mobilise and all realise this is wrong? A thing might crumble then, but part of that is getting information out. You know, I mentioned before coming back from Istanbul in 1997, 20 years ago, and gave a big press conference. One person turned up, and he came from the List magazine. Not one other media organ, newspaper in the whole of the UK came. No one would publish anything to do with Kurdistan. Nothing has changed. That's still the way it is right now. People don't know what the criminalisation going on of the Kurdish community. They don't know about it. This is, I think, question should be around that. How do we mobilise? How do the people here? What do we do?
Can I ask you a question?
Sorry, do that.
Can I just ask, first, excuse my ignorance because I'm new and I don't really know much about this, but you, at the end of your speech, you stated that don't ask me or don't ask us to take this cause to our government because they're predominantly right-wing and they don't want to know. I think that's, I absolutely agree with you, but I find that kind of quite futile for everybody here. So, because it's kind of like, you're saying, you know, our government won't do anything for you. So basically, do you have an idea of what you think we should do? Should we do what France is doing? Should we be out on the streets? Because they've got results from their protests. What do you think?
I can talk on that. Actually, that's a shade different to what we were saying. I personally, and people of my political persuasion, and that would include people who have moved with PKK, they would have to find another way of doing it.
Yeah.
But this is not to say that going that way, Stephen and I will have disagreements and things, but I would stand in solidarity with people who have to go through a parliamentary process, who have to go through the way trade unions have to organise by law. I don't expect any trade unionists to break the law. That would be naive to the point of imbecility for me, or they would question their own politics. But when there is a campaign, there is more than one way, more than two ways, more than three ways. There are different levels of organisation. And when any group, like the Kurdish people here in the UK, now it wouldn't matter any other struggle. My own involvement has been with one or two, but one in particular would be the African National Congress in the ANC. So some friends of mine who were ANC people, now I would kind of make jokes with them because they had to go to Whitehall and put on a top hat in order to speak to a Tory. You know, I mean, this is kind of radical left-wing people, but they were forced to do that. The ANC had to take liberation struggles. There are elements within it have to take these positions. They have to talk to sympathetic MSPs or whoever in this country, whether it's in Germany, whether it's in the EU, and what's happened recently in Brussels, when the Kurdish politician, whose name I can't remember, when he was not allowed to speak there. And so many mainstream politicians were supportive, as they are here. There are people here in Glasgow in official capacities, people like Lord Provost and so on, as it was during the time of the ANC, and they are willing to put themselves on the line as far as they can, but you cannot expect them to go and breach certain things. But within these campaigns, there are other people who are also doing things. This should apply to basically any campaign. Has to have a few different areas. If that deals with
There's,
because of the majority of the audience are Kurdish, so I would like to start with Kurdish then, in my opinion, what we should do. Brother, away James basically what we history چی بەسەر کورد هاتووە چۆن داوەش کراوە کوردستان بەڕاستی ئەوە ڕەنگە زۆربەتان بیزانن بەو دەقیقەیە بۆ ئێمە زۆر گرنگە کە وەکو جیمز باسی کرد نابێت چاوەڕوان بکەین کە لە یەکێتی بەریتانیا یاخود لە بەریتانیا خودی دەسەڵاتداران کە شتێک بۆ ئێمە بکەن ئەوە شتێکە کە ناکەین ئەبێ ئەمشەو قسە لەسەر ئەوانە کرد کە چۆن توانن ڕێ بگرین لەوەی کە کورد تاوانبار کرد لەبەرەوەی کە چالاکی نەتەوەیی و ئینسانی و چالاکی جۆر بە جۆرەکە بۆ بەدەستنانی مافەکانی ئەم شەو کە ئەگەر هەر کەسێ هاتووە تکایە بە کوردی قسە بکەن شەر نییە و جێگەی شانازی هیچ ئاساییە ڕۆژا لەوەیە من لێرەم هەر کەسێکی تر دەتوانێت تەرجمەی ئەوە بکات و ترانسلیتی بکات هاتوون بۆ ئێرە ئێوە بۆ نەهاتوون هەموومان بۆ ناتون دانیشین و ڕەسمگویی بڕۆین زۆر شت هەیە چارەنووسی ئەمە ئەگۆڕێ لە داهاتووە ئێوە ڕەنگە لەوە بترسن ئەگەر ئەسالەم سیکە بن ئەگەر ڕەفیوجی بن ئەگەر سیتیزنشیپ بن ئەگەر لە داهاتوە بەشداری هەر کار و چالاکێکی کوردانە بکەن لێرە لە ژێناوی پەکەکاوی یاخود هەر پارتێکی ترابێت ئەترسن لەوانەیە بترسن ئەگەر ناترسن ببی لەوە بکەنەوە چی بەسەر ئێمەیە چی بەسەر هاوڕەکانمانە چی بەسەر و کەسانێک کە بۆ ئێمە شەڕەکەن ئەزانم خەڵکانێک هەیە لەم ژوورە دانیشتووە حەزی لە کار و چالاکی و ئەجەندای پەکەکە نییە بەڵام ئەمڕۆ تەنها پەکەکە نییە من خۆم پەکەکە نیم هەندام هیچ حیزبێکی سیاسی نیم بەڵام ئەبێ زۆرەوە ئاگادارین کە ئەوەی بەسەر پەکەکە یاخود لەژێر هەر ناوەکەیە ئەردۆگان و دەسەڵاتەکەی ناوێت تەنها تارگێتی پەکەکە یا کەسێکی ترکە ئەوێ هەموو کۆمیونیتی کوردی تاوانبارکە بێوێ دەست بخاتە بینە ئاقای هەمومان ئەگەر تۆ هاوڕانی لەگەڵ هەر پارتێکی سیاسی کە پەکەکەی ڕێبەرایەتیەکە و ویشەکەش دیارە ئەوان تارگێت کراون هەندامەکانی تکایە با خۆمان تۆزێک ڕێکخێن یونایتد بین و واز لەو جۆرە خۆلە یان جاکاریە بهێن بینە ناوە کارەکەین هاوڕانی لە کارە سیاسەکانە زۆر ئاسایی بەڵام ئەبێ بەڕاستی پشتی یەک بگرین پشتیکە گرین ئەزانی ئەوەی تۆ هاوڕەکەت لۆمەتەکە ئەوە کار بۆ پەکەکەیەکەین نابێ کار بکەین نابێ من پارتی دیموکراتم تۆ یەکێتی نیشتیمانی تۆ یەکێتی سووریا دیموکراتیکی ئەمانە دابەشبوونێکی گەورەیە و ئەوانەی ئەو ڕۆژانە ئێمێ ئێستاگەیان بوو بەداخەوە کە ئێمە ئەبێ زۆر لەوە ئاگادارین کە چی دابەشی کردوین یەکێتی ناو خۆمان نییە باشە بۆیە تکاتم هەموو کەسێک هاتوۆ تێرە با قسەی خۆی بکات ترس لەسەر خۆی ترس لەسەر داهاتووی کوردستان ترس لەسەر ژیانی دەرە چونکە ڕەنگە تۆ سبەینێ یاساکان وها بگۆڕێت پۆلیسیێرە بچیتە کۆبوونەوەیەکە و ئاڕاکە بەدەستەوە بێت هەمومان بگرێت خۆ ئەگەر دڵنیان ئەگەر ئێمە ئەو ریاکشنەمانەوێ ئەمان گرێت ئێمە تریزاغی بە هەموو کوردی و تیرۆریستە بێدەم بووین باشە ئەمریکا هەموو پارێکی بلیۆنان چەند ملیۆن دۆلار ئێ بەسەرکردەکان بێدەم بوو چەند جێتەکان لێرەوە ڕۆشن بۆ یەکێتی بۆ سووریا بۆ کوردستان و ئەفریقان بێدەم بوو ئێمە شتمان زۆر پێەگرێت هەر کەسە لە جێگەی خۆی و بە بەشی خۆی بەڵام گرنگەوەی هەموو کەس بێتە مەیدان چەندت پێەگرێ ئەوەندە پێ ئەوەندە بکە زیاتر مەکە بە توانای خۆ لەبەرەوە هیوادارم کە هەمومان بەشدارین قسەی زیاتر بکەین بۆیە بردوبوون ئێستا چەند پێشینانی دەخەمە ڕوو کە چی ئەتوانین بکەین گوڕەگە قسەکەم تاواکەم دوایی ئاشا what I was یەک شتی ویستم ڕوونی کەمە کە لۆزان و سیڤەر زۆر لەمان تێکچوو هەر خۆم ئێستا گەنە نووسیان لێم تێکچوو لۆزان تریتیەکە یاخود ئەوە جارنامەیەکە یاخود ڕێکەوتنیەکە کە لە نێوان فەڕەنسا و بەریتانیاکرا بۆ دابەشکردنەوەی ڕۆژهەڵاتی ناوەڕاست بە جۆرێک کە کوردیش مافی هەبێ وڵاتی هەبێ کە لە ساڵی 1920 لە ساڵی 1920 لە ساڵی 1923 لۆزان هات ئەمەی هەڵوەشانەوە چونکە تورکیا هاتە ناو کۆنتراکتەکەەوە باشە هاتە ناو پەیماننامەکەەوە جوان بۆیە لۆزان 23 ئەمە دژی لۆزانی سیڤەر کە 1920 بوو ئومێدێک هەبوو کورد لە پاش هەڵوەشانەوەی ئیمپایرە تورکیش ئیمپایرەوە یان ئۆتۆمان ئیمپایر شتێک بۆ کورد بگرێت کە نەکرات بۆیە ڕەنگە لێمان تێکچێت زۆر ئاساییە بەڵام کەلو زانیە. What I try to say very briefly, I say that was really good, and we're not just grateful, thankful. We don't know how to explain what we should do to someone like yourself or other people that are supporting us as a Kurdish issue or Kurdish question, whatever you call. But this is just a flavor of history. The problem is, I absolutely agree with James that we're not looking. We're not hoping that British state may do something or will change their mind, because their idea and their interest for the last even 200 years ago is still the same. Wherever Churchill is on power, or Theresa May, or Gordon Brown, or Cameron, the state has the same agenda, same strategy for their own interest. Unfortunately, it doesn't match with the British interest as people. So we're not overwhelmed about that. But what we should do, I believe, as I talk to my Kurdish colleagues, friends, say we need to come together. Our silence are helping Turkish embassy, Turkish state, and British state to grow and demand those, change the legislation to criminalize Kurdish. Because I personally afraid and worry, and all my friends that maybe asylum seeker or refugee or have any citizen, British citizen, might be accused for the next event or activity if we don't stand up and go out and shout wherever. There is a lot of way. As you say, we don't have to go to the British or Scottish Parliament to say, please do this, do this. There is a lot of pressure on the street. In the peaceful, civil way, we should push pressure, because we have been so quiet, or maybe didn't know what to do. So we need to come together and make a plan how to do that, and then put a pressure and shame those people behind this legislation or behind those tactics that targeting us. Whatever we are, as you say, I am not a member of PKK, and I don't think there may be a handful of people may be in favor of PKK as a political party, but this is not about PKK. This is about our future. This is about our life. PKK is on the list, but Kurdish in general are targeted in everywhere, not just in Turkey. So I am not, I proudly here and say I would like to support any political party, and because I know the threat on PKK is a threat on me, because I know how Turkish state think and how they have done in the past. So it may be hard for someone to say, I don't do that because you are part of the Barzani, maybe part of Taliban, part of any political party. Don't afraid. This is not a channel. We need to be united. That's all my message to say. We need to be united and fight together and work together.
Can I just say thanks to Aqua? I really appreciate your Kurdish language use. Thank you for explaining that and putting across really about Kurdish people really need to reunite. And وكو أكوش ودي أبى راستي كردكان زور بشتيك بقين زور يعني أما واي وتو أما وتي واو أما واعكا أما واعكا أبشتان الزور من الله راستي هو تو جنريشنيكي يعني تو كردي يعني واو كرد بابيرد حالي دا بو كرد تو نوي تازيد تو نوي تازة تشتك أبخشيد بو كرد تو تو أوشتانا أتواني بكيت. Sorry, I'll go back to English. If James
Sorry,
wants to give a
before
few...
go back to our brother about Green Man,
لا أقول زاي أوالم أما إجماع بيقرب مقبوبنا وأنا أما إن رداني شنيا شنجار حسبوا أم كسانا أكن إجماع بيقرب يعني بعلم سودانة برسم سودانة بمشتانة هيج أقرب أما ليرا.
Well, I'll let's sorry, بالتأكيد أجي بقول لي بدلني أشلون بيجي شد بكسك أكله بلام كم أكله بلام جاني لما ترسياري هكذا وجاني بك كمان بيجي وقت إما دانيش نبي بلان داري إما كاري تموتيش ناماني بيجي شو بوتشي ناماني بيجي شو كي يكمل شد بروا ما فيني دوم شد زور آسانة بو بيانو ما قبلوا لزندان ما بين شهر نص ما بفوشوا يعني دسوا قاسم بس كان مدني زور على سرقة كان لسجادة كان بنوسين بقصة كدن بكورو سيمينار لهرجة جد شد زورا بلام أنا أم إيوانا دانشين جال زين شيء أتواني يمكن ويا أشين هو بنا على زين براي وانا بيتشي
رأي توشة كاكا أما ما كوبينة توليرة هنا إما بلين ولا إما واكين أما بو توشة بو هم كسكا.
So the question was from this gentleman, say, what we can do? Is there anything we can do? Should we fight? Should we burn flags? Should we do that? Should we do that? My question was, my answer is, yes, we can do a lot together. We can do a lot, but in a peace way, non-violent, because when we don't believe in violence. We believe in peace because we have been a victim of violence. Secondly, we don't want to give any excuse to the politician or the political party, especially police and regime or the system, to grab us, catch us and put in prison. Then you know what happened if you do that. So we will go back. We agree to go back to that panel for tonight. Wherever we agree, we can step up.
James,
Yeah,
can you just...
I think it's important to say that one of the major things that Scottish people have to realise too, this is a thing, is the danger for Kurdish people in the sense of, I would see, well, what Rosa would be the first to talk about is status as immigrants and your status here, and some of the things that we take on. Kurdish people might want to take on, but we feel, you don't want to do that. You cannot challenge at a basic level, and so your families might suffer, and your status becomes, and the knock on the door during the night, and there you are, People who are in solidarity with you, Kurdish people, whether it's Iranian, Iraqi, Syrian, these areas that those of us who know about divisions between Kurdish people, these things, from the outside, we go, well, surely these things can be spoken about. Again, surely this is part of what, if we look again at Kurdish history at that period, and being aware of divisions within, this is part of why someone like, again going back to Öcalan, about what he recognised and why he felt the Scottish model was important to him, which would be a way back because they were looking at various areas. It was also to do with things like the clan system and tribes, in the way that Scottish people, my people and other Scottish people here, our family also had divisions through name. I know these names. Where my people come from, Mackenzies fight MacLeods. The English monarchy supported Mackenzies and they destroyed the MacLeods. We know about this kind of history. We know also in terms of contemporary politics. We know that Scottish devolution, these areas of Scottish independence, self-determination, these are areas that Kurdish party looked at. They knew that certain things were not going to happen. It didn't matter about elections in Turkey. It doesn't matter. These things are not going to happen. How will you get a united Kurdistan? You will not get it through any political decision being made by the states. Iran, Iraq, Syria, Turkey, aided by Russia and USA and Germany and France. They will not Scottish people have also to face facts about their country. You know, Fast Lane, where the Trident missile is, this is being expanded just now. The very idea that Scotland can be independent, you go, give us a break. This is a fantasy. The SNP cannot even get rid of the monarchy. They cannot even become Republican because it's a dirty word in the UK that equates with Irish independence. These things, that's the level we must talk together about. There has to be levels of honesty. Otherwise, there is nothing. It has to be a people's movement. Whether that one of the models for that could be the school, at the Kilkenny school. Having focus on areas like that, these things could be very important. Already we know Stephen and Rosa tried to find a way of opening a bank account for the Scottish school in Kilkenny. And this was not allowed because it was to support a terrorist organisation. Scottish people will immediately support this without knowing anything about it because of that idea of the fundamental importance of education in Scotland. People will support that and be scared not to support it. Mainstream politicians will not want to not support such a thing.
So there's a few questions. Dominic,
I've been holding off for a while, right? About 6 sheets.
I know you always have lists, but could you just make it short?
So a couple of things, right? What's kind of been said already. First of all, I'm Dominic, and I'm here from the Revolutionary Communist Group, and we've said just two of us can make it tonight, but we're bringing our solidarity to these latest raids and what's happened and the people that have been held now. It's kind of been said briefly, just the points about British imperialism. You know, like British imperialism has a long history of murder and plunder and occupation in the Middle East and North Africa. The idea that it's going to change now is, like, it's kind of been said, you know, the British state, British imperialism is different from Labour, Tory, because they're all part of it. SNP, they're all part of it. Different faces of the same system. So we need to recognise that and we need to fight back against it and pressure them. The second point that links into that is, you know, like, it's like a wee bit of what's been said as well, we exhaust all channels, and like in your campaigning, you don't put respectable appeals to respectable politicians before a picket of a police station or a picket of a politician's office. You do everything. You do street stalls, you do local community meetings. So you don't just meet here in the nice West End, because if everybody knows Glasgow, West End of the city, this is the affluent part of the city. You want to take your meetings, local meetings and information into the East End, into the South Side, into local communities where working class people know from experience the character of the state because they're suffering council cuts to services, these kind of things, right? We take it into the communities where a lot of us no doubt stay, and we win the support of our neighbours, our community around us, and we build up pressure from the grassroots. So I believe that has to start happening. Like, in our modest efforts, we have our street stall every week. We try our best, right? But so far, in terms of our attempts to try and build, even on or raise the Kurdish question on the street, you know, we're kind of doing it ourselves. The last action we called, which was in solidarity with an international day of action that Kurdish organisations had called, you know, like one person from the Kurdish community was there, right? And we did put our appeals out. So it's at a grassroots level that pressure's got to be built as well, and that can't be put behind respectable appeals in politics. The last thing I have to say is that for Scottish people, for people in Britain, they have to recognise that these attacks on the rights of oppressed people, of immigrants, refugees and others in this country, if we don't build solidarity with these people, if we don't defend these people, very soon the same legislation, the same laws will be used against working class people in this country. And the example that you've probably heard about of this Stansted 15, right? Normal kind of activists who tried to prevent in a peaceful way civil disobedience to oppose a deportation of refugees. They're now being targeted with terrorism legislation, right? Is everybody aware of this? Terrorism legislation, right? Facing up to 20 years in prison for cutting through a fence. So what I have to say is, my last point, I just brought it as an idea from the group, but I brought 2 cards. One for solidarity for the people that are being held right now, and another one to be sent to the Stansted 15 to say...
I'm sure we're all supporting the people who protested against that plane, and it's unjust that they are being taken to prison.
It's the link between...
Yes,
so can I pass this round and I can give that to you at the end and you can send it to your people to let them know they've got the support?
If you could put that over there, then people can sign it, that would be great. That's fine.
Cool.
Okay? But, my name's Jennifer McCary and I'm the chair of Glasgow Trade Union Council. So like Stephen, I'm involved in the trade union movement in our city. Apologies for being late. I was at another meeting earlier on and I got here as quickly as I could. But we represent the trade union members all over the city, and we've had a long-standing relationship with the Kurdish community in Glasgow. We've had 4 people on this meeting alone on our May Day speakers at our big rally we hold once a year. I was very, very upset to hear that there has been an increase in the monitoring and people are feeling that the Kurdish community are being criminalised in cities in Scotland. It reminded me of a period of time that I remember in the 1980s and the 70s when the Irish community in this country were picked on, and as a result of that many injustices happened and miscarriages of justice happened. The reaction of that community was to be quiet, go under, to hide, to not be visible for many years. And that didn't improve things, it didn't make things better. What made things better was when people spoke openly about their experiences and came together and tried to maybe create dossiers, evidence of the experiences that the community were having and how it was affecting them, and then trying to build alliances so that the people who were their allies, who were politicians, trade unionists and other people, would come together to share the concern that communities were facing and experiencing. So I'm here to say that, you know, our organisation is here to support the Kurdish community in our city, and that if we can do anything to advertise and to publicise what you're experiencing and to call for demands that would improve the dignity and civil rights of you as a community, then please let us know, and if you want us to reach out alongside others, then we'll be very happy to do so. Thank you.
Thanks, yeah. Just
يا هلا بخوتو سوري ابو ريكم لازم تشوف لو بخوتو خزك تو بخول لو بخوتو كومينجي ديكيب كوا يترم جوي لي دبي طاط كو خصناكا
والله
لجا ساوند يو يك توستوش بيكو بكردي انا كبير
كاسي كده ترجمه كلام
نا تو كوا كوا مفرياناك يبدوك لعنتي بي والله مو يشتينا
So I just want me to say what you've explained, if that's okay, if I can put that in.
I'll try to
20K
a couple of minutes, yeah, sorry. I'm برئيسي لكوتايا سيك لتجينا بشكل بيزبط بيشوك بوستا كيتشيا طالما بكردي نويت يعمتي سوالي سنديكاي سكوتي كان نوي يعمتي يما بن وكان وارد جوري في اوان متوانا يعمتي ما بن دم ما بجانب بشكل كان تلنا وكيكي سنديكا كان للسكوتلندا لتابعي لغلاسكو بو اوي ام باسا برواكو بقات جوي هم سيكتار زان باي تشي طبعا كان بوي كوتاي بم حرشا باسی وەکی کە وەخت خۆی مەشغولیاوە بەسەر ئایریشەکانە بڵێ کۆمیونیتی ئایریشەکان هەمان شت ڕوبەڕووی ئەوان بۆتەوە تووشی ترسان و خۆشاردنەوە ئەوانە بوون وای کردو خەڵک بێدەنگ بێ خەڵک ترسێ بەڵام ئەمە دیار بوو و دەرکەوتووە کە هیچ کاریگەری دروست نەکردووە لەسەر باشبوونی دۆخەکە بۆیە خراپی کردو بۆیە بڕیارەدا بوو کە جارێکی تر بووی دێن بەیەکەوە قسە بکەن تێک کۆشن کار بکەن و ئەم قسانە بگەین بەیەکتی و خەڵکی تر ئاگادار بچوو هەتا خەڵک زۆر ئاگادار بێ حتمەن فشار زیاتر دروستە بێت لەسەر کۆمیونیتیەکان لەسەر سیاسەتوان و لەسەر هەر گروپێکی بۆیە قسەکە ئەوەیە ئێمە ئەبێت کەناڵێک دۆزینەوە چۆن دەرمان بگات بە خەڵکانی تر تا خەڵکێک هەیە زۆر خەڵکەیە ئامادەیەکە پشتیوانمان بکات ئەبێت دەرمان بگەێنین بە هەر جۆرێک بێت ئێمە نازانین جارە چۆن دەرمان بگەێنی بە هەموو ئەو خەڵکانی تر بەڵام ئەبێ ڕێگای دۆزینەوە و ڕێگای جیاواز کە ئەم قسانە ئەم شتەی بەسەر ئێمەیە دۆکە بەڵێ ئەکسپریەنس ئێمە چییە ئەم قسانە بگەێنی بەو کەسانەی کە خەڵکی ئاسایی وەکو ئەو هاوڕێی ترمان باسی کرد ئابێت چالاکیەکانمان لەم ژوورانە کۆ نەکەینەوە تەنها بچینە دەرەوەی کۆمیونیتیەکان لە ناو شارەکان بچینە دەرەوەی ئەم شوێنە ڕاکانەوە خۆیان ئێمە شوێنی کۆبوونەوە و قسەی زیوە شتانەیە بەڵام ئابێ بچین ناو کۆمیونیتیەکان کە لە دەرەوەی شارەکان کە ئەوانیش یاخود دوورترن شوێنە دوورە دەستەکان کە ئەوانیش هەمان کێشیان هەیە وەکو ئێمەکە بڵێن تاڵی و ناخۆشیان چەشتووە لەبارەی لەلایەن دەسەڵاتەوە کە بڵێن هەژارن خزمەتگوزاریان نییە فەرامۆش بکەن دەبێت ئەمانە هاودەردی ئێمە بەخۆی بێتین ئەگەر ئێمە هەر چالاکی بکەین وەکو ناوکەی بچۆ بێت ئەبێ ئەم قسانە ئەم چالاکیانە بگەینە شوێنەکانی تر بچینە شوێنەکانی بۆی خەڵکی هاودەردی خۆمان ئێمان تێبگات تا پشتوانی زاری کۆکەینەوە کاریگەری هەبێ من هاوڕام لەگەڵی چکە بەڕاستی لەگەڵ ئەندام پەرلەمانێکا قسەکەی کار و پیشەستی خۆی هەیە زۆر جۆ ناتانێت نابێت ئێمە تەنها تارگێتمان ئەندام پەرلەمان و کۆمەڵی خەڵکی چالاکوان بێت خەڵکی کۆمیونیتی و خەڵکی ئاساییش
کار پێشەوەی هینکەم هەتا 8-20 دقیقە بێت لەم ژوورەیە بینەبێت تۆزە پەلا قسە بکەن
دومره پێشموتی تۆکە قسەی کرد ئەتۆ بە خۆتەوە خێرا تەرجمەی کارت بکرد بۆ کارەکە زۆر بەڵێ
بەڵێ کاکە ئەستا دوو کەسی کە ئێوە پرسیارکە تۆ دیوان نزیکی 700 کەس یان گرتووە هینی داعش کە ئەتوانین ئێمە ئەتوانین قسە بکەین لەگەڵ حکوومەتی ئێرە مەسەن بۆ یعنی وەکو نازان چۆن
بۆ ئەوەی کە ئێمە بڵێن ئێمە ئەوانمان گرتووە بێگات ئەنێمان بێجینا ئەوانە چوزان دی I personally well I don't know how
بەس من تەرجمەیان شتم کرد ئەو کابرا قسەی کرد Cabra, sorry, the man and gentleman in the back, could you?
Yeah, I've got a couple of quick questions, but I'll ask Stephen at the end. I won't take up time.
Okay.
I just think we have to coordinate, some questions about the fundamentals. I'm surprised that we don't know who's actually made the arrests. You're saying maybe special branch, maybe anti-terrorism. We should know these. We should have the facts. Each of the lawyers will take each case individually, but we need to find out the fundamentals. What are they being charged with? Have they been detained? Have devices been taken? But I'll speak to you about that at the end. I won't take up anything.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for that. So this woman over here, okay, and then.
I just want to say that we're talking about very big ideas here, and this is what this meeting is supposed to be about. Is about families being attacked, being pulled out of their beds in the middle of the night, basically 6 o'clock in the morning or something. Now, that's what I think. Gavin is right. We should be starting from the bottom up. If they can use this kind of legislation against ordinary people, whether they're Kurdish, Scottish, or whatever, that's the point we should be trying to get across. And I think that perhaps we should be trying to reach the media. I know Jim says they don't turn up if you call a press conference or whatever, but this is a very powerful human story, and I think that's one of the things we should maybe try.
Question?
You covered some of what I was going to say about practical advice for people in this situation, and the fact that children have been intimidated and terrorised most of the people in Scotland, we live in a British state, but we still live at some level of comfort, and most people wouldn't accept that happening. And the last time it happened, we managed to get publicity in the newspapers by highlighting individual family stories. And the other thing we did was we got advice for people. They came to the Govan Law Centre came to the community centre in Edinburgh and gave people advice about if you're arrested or if people come to your home. And I think we could draw something up to give people some advice on things like that.
أفرطو بحب كان زيادة لسروان سكر كأطوان جريدة أو شتانش أطوان بجيري إيراب كين وفي وينديان بيو كين يعني ليرب بوبانايو أطوان أو شتانا بلاو كانوا خلقي تزيد زيادة بجيري كردكا لسكوتلاند ويلي كاش وكو لو فيرميكا زيادة قانون اشتواء بيوتري غوفن لو سنتر أو وكو أموجاري اشتواء نكد بو كرد هاتبون بو كوميونيتي كرديكا لإدنبرا زور أموجاري اشتكانيشان زور باش بوين أو أطوان اشتواء زيادة بكين بو كردكاني إيرا أول توزر أقصى علينا سروشتانا كرد دعوة اللي قلتنا كم أبي دايم كين توزر زي شون ساكي لسروي تشيد كين صبيتينا كوتاي
سوري كبر إنجليزي سمع كم بقول ده زوجي هو علاني كده ده بروي أما أو كوبنانا يبادر كوتاي بدين أو كرد ميدان كبواز نو ميدان نشخا كمالك سالك يكلانا الموسيقى شارون بروك كمالك سالك كلا شخا مكان بكير فيسبل بيجين دبا أو قلي بسال بيو مش ميوادر مال بإنجليزي كي تلانا باشتري بوب إكسبلين كي دواي شو ندروي UK لشتى أوروبا معاملة لقى كرد شون ده بشويش قشتي أو بسيارة جرين كيل ورد أسبرك معاملة لسر أصلي ميو
أو بسيارة جزوزو قوري أو نزيد بروجي كليفر لسر بريكسل كلاس كيل
نعم بس مونيا كعبت سبيشال لسر كرد الله حتى هسه شون تحولي كردوا لا أنا شوار شوي قالبش كده بس وكو عن شون سكوتلاند شون ايريش شون انجلاند تعاملي كردوا شوار شوي بسیارکو بیان اشتاق چالاک کنم کرد لجور داخل بگو از اینو بسر شکم وکو شانو درو موزیک.
Well, he is asking. He suggested instead of coming here and just sitting talking, let's go out and do lots of activity. I suppose he's just mean a demonstration, music, all the theatre, do performance to express ourselves, to show our pain, our experience, and say, see, we are here, we are safe, we are not safe. We flee from our country, still they are chasing us to put us.
Sorry, هلا أنا بقول البوليتيكا شيء مشان وقال أنا ندري، يعني كم رأيك تشي جوان أنا، وكم موسيقى وهم شو كم رأيك شيء
showed basically the Scottish community and the UK that Kurdish people have nice cultures, they have nice music, we're not terrorists, we're human beings. Through these kind of music and dancing, we can express ourselves. The other one was, he was questioning about Brexit and if we're going out of the EU, what is the effects for the Kurdish community and how, just about the Kurdish in general. I said this is going to take a long time, we're going to be here for a day or so if you want us to answer that question. So we will just basically...
Suggestion.
Yes, I mean, I think we're going to close with suggestion. We're not just going to leave everybody empty-handed. بس احنا توز زور دنبرز بتو خم جمله خم نما يعني براسي توز اليمني كانوا زور سباس تاعنا كين راسي بسيارة كان من داخل بس دي قينا كدي فهموا. He has a question for you, James. He has a question for you. The first question for you, he mentioned that there was a meeting that Atatürk was involved in the past. And from basically in that kind of meeting, the Kurdish people were not involved in in it.
سببك چی برژاندی آبوری اروپا بو کوای که
What was the reason for this? Was it the European kind of strategy, or was that the Kurdish people are not involved in this meeting? I want to ask something, if you could. الله بسيار توان بسيار جواب ده مستند سر أوا أكيد بيجي سر صعب
چەند وڵاتن بەشداریان لە کۆبنەوەیەک کە تورکیا هاتنە ئەو کۆبوونەوەیەکە ناوێنش کوردەکان بەشداری لەو کۆبنەوەیەکەن بە بەرژەوەندی تورکیا دەکە کوردێک لەو کۆبنەوەیە.
How many of these countries were there actually involved in that meeting? If you could, do you have a knowledge of that?
Enough to do.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Do you want to just in 1 minute, maybe?
In 1 minute, yeah.
ليش تمام؟ ما تجيب له أيلم.
You know, being aware of what had happened
before Ataturk
came to power. And remember, what happened before is the end of the Ottoman Empire. So the young Turkish movement they wanted to hold on to what they could, because they lost everything. They lost Bulgaria, Serbia, Albania, Macedonia. They lost all of that. Greece. Ataturk is from Thessalonica.
Ataturk خلقي أو Thessalonica لو شونا شاركة.
Nowadays he would be Greek.
أجل أستبدل مع بايا أو بوي غريكا بوي تركيجنيا.
What happened was Britain and France had just finished the First World War.
أجل أو كاتب تيتو بو كاتب بريطانيا ومعناها شغلة عالمية كم طاوي.
What Ataturk knew, and people close to Ataturk, was Britain were very weak. Here at home, they were killing Irish people. Someone referred to Ireland, the women from the trade unions. There was an election in Ireland that voted in Sinn Féin. And the British Army were fighting there. They were trying to contain the radical movement in Scotland. The soldiers had been demobbed. What British Army was there? There was almost no British Army. Ataturk could basically, at that time, the person who was in charge, you might say, it was the old religious, what would you call them, the caliphate. So they were all maneuvering, and they became Turkey, led by Ataturk and the generals. They only could take Turkey and say, we will not have to take anything else, but we will not allow.
عثمانی لقلب رقاجع و پاسو حکومتی زور جدی بودی و تنها شتک که نسبی پارزم که بچوکترین دستالات همینه و اوی تویشی آوان رازو کنوکاتا آوان بوده بدلی تویشی کم دژی کرد تنها اوی بده سومال.
So because
اوی پارچه تریزیاتی کنه.
So because of that, Turkey could do deals with Britain. They did deals. Because of that, Britain and France were able to divide up parts of Iraq. They could go right down Mesopotamia. Right down. I say Mosul goes to Britain. Britain kept Mosul at all costs.
Can you please quiet? Stephen's going to summarize if we could do something. Okay.
Right. One of the things which is clear is we need to have other meetings to explore more detailed history of the Kurds and Middle East. And I think if Jim is willing to do so, we can set up other meetings for that purpose so we can have a detailed discussion.
حستا كمستا زور أبد مجي كرد راستي بناسينين بزور خالق بكرديش وبخلقي كاش خلقي سكوتي شكان وأقوانين جيمس أمشتا بكات للعيني مجي كردا بوكو خوندن بو خلقي إيرا وخلقي تبزان مجي كردشيا.
What I want to address, and kind of summing the meeting up, is the actions that we need to take forward immediately and in the coming future. There are many things we can do in order to build solidarity with the Kurdish community in Scotland. This week, for example, we wrote a letter, myself and Jim collaborated, we wrote a letter to the newspapers. And we then asked a number of key trade union and politicians in Scotland to sign that letter, put their names to it.
ونعمل بزور كس بوكو جريدة خلقي ناوسانتيكا وكو أندام برلمان كبجيري كردكا.
So people like Jennifer there from Glasgow Trade Union Council signed that letter.
يكيد لو أنا وجينيفر كقصي كلا تشتوا هاتو بو إيرش بجيري كردي شركة.
The Assistant General Secretary of the Scottish Trade Union Congress, the people who own this building, signed Dave Moxon, he signed the letter.
أو كسي مسروكي سنديكاي همو سكوتلاند ناي ديف موكسما أويش بجيري كردكا أويش ناي خوي كردوتا سر أو نامية.
Which is partly, Dominic, why we're in this building today, because that's part of their solidarity. We had SNP MSP, we had Green Party MSP, Labour Party MSP signing that letter. So that letter was published in the newspapers and it demonstrated a breadth of support, of solidarity from Scottish people to the Kurdish community.
أما بلابوتو لجريدة كان أجر بيني بتان كبجديري كردا كان.
So that's one example of how we build support, that we, as a Scottish Solidarity, use Kurdish communities, approach these kinds of people and say, we want you to support us, we want your name on our letter or petition or whatever it is, as a way of them showing their support and solidarity for you, and we need to build up that kind of breadth of support to start with.
أو هيك يعني نمونيك لو أنا كأمل أتوانين بجديري كنت بكين لم لاعيني أو شتوا كدومانا وشتيتيش أتوانين بكين بس أو شتيك نمونيك كدومانا.
And we ask all of them to do something in their own sphere, whether that's in the trade union movement or in politics, in parliament or wherever they happen to be. We want them to do something to show that support.
وبرسياريش ما كردوا لحمو أو كساري كنايبيان مسيو لسر أما كبجيري كرد بكن ولتشونك عندهم برلمانا يعني وسنديكا إيشا كان لو شوني خوانا بجيري كرد بكن لو تواني هانا بجيري كان.
We want people like Jim and his colleagues or writers, we want them to write stories, poems, articles in newspapers, whatever it is they can do to get the message over.
وكو يكيك لو أنا جيمس زور بناو بانجا لخلق يعني سكوتلاند لخلق أي ناسي مثلا كرديك بيت أو يعني توزر شرحي كم يكيك سكوتيشي بيت زور زوجي ليجري هو يكيك سكوتيشي وابجيري كردكا أمش جوي ليجرين وأمش بلاك كردوي ناوي بناو بانجا.
Jean, who spoke earlier on, is from an organisation, Artists for Peace. There's a whole number of artists, musicians who are part of that, we put on events to promote human rights, and we did an event with Jean's organisation last year through in Edinburgh, where we commemorated Kurdish poetry along with Scottish poets and writers, and we had at that event. Again, that's the sort of solidarity actions that people can take with people in the community in Scotland.
یەکێک لەو شتانی تریشەوە بووە کە لەگەڵەوە ئافرەتەجینی ئیشمان کردووە کە لەسەر زیاتر شعر و زیاتر شعر و ئەو شتانەمان کردووە و هەر بڵاومان کردوتە یعنی کوردەکان بێن شعر بخوێنەوە یان سکۆتیشەکان شعر بخوێنەوە هەر بۆ شتەکە بۆ کورد بووە.
And through all those kind of activities, we build support across the whole community.
ئەو شتانەمان کردووە مەسەڵەن بۆی زیاتر خەڵک بزانێت لەسەر مشکلەی کورد کە بتوانێت پشگیری کورد بکە ئەوانیە زیاتر لە کورد تێبکە.
And at the same time, the points that Akko was making about the Kurdish community being united and taking actions, whether it be demonstrations or whether it be musical events and celebrations, bringing all those people together and making sure you invite all those Scottish people who have offered you solidarity to come along and join in those activities, so that we build the kind of people's movement from the ground upwards about these kind of issues.
وەکو کە ئامۆژ ئاکۆ قسەی کرد پێشتر باسی کرد کە ئەتوانین خەڵک کۆکەینەوە بتوانین مەسەڵەن گۆرانی کوردی بوترێ خواردنی کوردی لێ بنرێ شتانە هەر بۆ کورد نەبێت بەڵام خەڵکی سکۆتیشیش بێنە ناومانەوە خەڵکی سکۆتیشەکان بێن ڕاستی ئەوە شتێکە زۆر زۆر گرنگە من ئەبینیمە لە کۆمەڵەی ترە خەڵکی سکۆتیشی هێن بۆ کۆمەڵەی مەسەڵەن ئەو لەکوێ بن کوردەکان زیاتر هەر خۆیان ئەکەن و خەڵکەکانی تر باڵیان ناکەن ئەویش وتی کە ئەو شتە شتێکی زۆر گرنگە کە باس کرا لەلایەکەوە.
At the same time, we recognise that you, as part of the Kurdish community, are vulnerable at this point in time, and therefore the advice that you need, we need to make sure is available. So briefly, if you are approached by the police to go to the police station, you don't go.
Agar aman zor giri kaman hazakam yarati rozaj don. أو خالنا هو باسك يشتري بجوتان ليه أما زوج رجعسين شون عدم أنا فوق معه أجا هالكسر اللي يولنا بوليس وبسندا ما تشبه أوي حتى ما بس يوركين كتشيب كين.
Unless the police have an actual arrest warrant.
كنا حتى ورقة بشانة ياك أمريكي وكمان عليك رجعت يدراو كتوب فيه.
And then you have to go to the.
إن جاء تواني بتشيبه police station.
أجا بقى بدك أشتري بلا أنا زور ترساندني كمالي كردية بيان بلا زور خلقية مثلا راستيكي شيء مزبلا لا خلق زور تسر هاي لو أنا هاللي رجنا بين أمره إيه كرفيق ما كأناس من إدنبرا زور أترسل يعني خلقية أترسل. There is people who are afraid.
So we don't want to make you worry, but we want to make you aware. Emma, how about Emma Zojozikia, Emma Sinave, Mechanica, Emma Tanaf, Amada, Chicago, away again the Jirai, which to run by the Spain. Cascari Granite, the one I get a Cascari,
If the police have an arrest warrant for you do not speak to them until you have a lawyer present. Under our law here, you are entitled to have a lawyer when you speak to the police. That's the legal advice.
So they are asking why they might be. Can I just explain? They are asking. Sorry, just quiet a little bit, please. Just a couple of questions. They are just asking why they might be arrested. You might arrest, police might arrest us. Ama tersinare, agar to caro charake, porque esta hitnia, America se apene, tersi kasnia, kaznavi la lista eu ena gadarishi. بەڵام ئەگەر تۆ کار و چارەکی بکەیت و ئەوان ناحەزبن و بیانێ باڵێ لەسەر کار و کۆبوونەوەی سیاسی بکەیت و باسی پەکەت و ئەمانەکەی ئەگەری هەیە تۆ تارگێتی یاخود بیان بدرێت بیانی بترسێنن بۆیە مەترسن ترسی ناوێ ئەگەر ئێوە نەچیت وەکو گوتی ئەم ئامۆژگاریانە بکەن ئێمە بیرەوە شەکەینەوە کە تۆ تەلەفۆن بۆ هاوڕێکەت بکەیت خەڵکی تر ئاگادارکە و کاتە بە گروپیان ئاگادار دەکەن و پارێزەرێک بۆ بگرن یارمەتی بەن بەڵام ترسی ناوێ کەس کاری خراپی نەکردو بەڵام ئەگەر وایان کردە بێمە ئاگادار.
Okay, that's just so that you understand, you have a right to a lawyer when you speak to the police. You should always insist that you have a lawyer present if the police have a right to speak to you. And if you don't have a lawyer, simply say that your lawyer is Amar Anwar, and they will then contact Amar Anwar, who is one of the leading lawyers in Scotland. Who we have engaged with and is happy to So that's just the advice. What we need to move on to is the kind of actions that we build. So we build the kind of people's solidarity movement from the ground up. We then need to target the demands that we want to take forward. Now, in Germany, as an example, in Germany, they have banned the sale of arms to Turkey because they were so appalled at what happened in Afrin, and many German hardware was used to go into Afrin. The German government have then said, we're not going to send any more supplies to Turkey. And the reason why they did that was not because Germany was necessarily the good guys, but the Kurdish movement in Germany is much bigger, stronger, better organised, and has allies amongst the progressive political parties in Germany that they were able to put pressure on the German government to take that step. So we need to raise that demand here.
كردەکان زۆر زۆر لە ناو یەکان کوردەکان زۆر زۆرن ئەو گروپ کوردەکانی ئێمە لاوازنی لێرە هەرێکی لە لایەکە ئەو قسانەش بکەم
تۆ بە کوردێکی
So we need to
باسی ئەڵمانیا
So we don't have a lot of time.
So we need to raise that demand. There are factories in Scotland which make arms which are exported to Turkey. So we need to think through how we pressure on those factories.
داوان دەسەڵات بکەین لە حکومەت بکەین کە چەک نەفرۆشێ بۆ ئێمە چەکێکی زۆر فرۆشین بۆ سکۆتلەندا چەکێکی زۆر فرۆشین بە تورکیا و حکومەت خەڵکانی ئەبێ ئێمە هەنگاو بنین بە کوردیەکەی ئەڵە هەتا هەنگاو بنێ بۆ پێشەوە ئەوانیش کەمتر دەتوان بێنە پێشەوە لەبەرەوە ئێمە ئەشەبێت دەست بکەین بینە مەیدان کار بکەین یەکێک لە نقطانەوەی ئێمە شاد کرێ سەرەوات کە داوامان هەبێت نەکەوەی کە تکارەمەمانگرن نەبێت داوامان هەبێت هەتا داوامان زیاتر بێوانێ لاواسترە بنە بەرامبەر.
We need to build support so that we can put pressure on the MPs, the members of Parliament. We will produce letters for people to send to their MPs with these demands, and we want to raise forcefully the issue of the delisting of PKK. We will produce literature, leaflets about that particular issue, and we'll get that out to all those trade unions, all those politicians that supported us, and get them out into the community. In terms of how we then take this forward, if you're on Facebook, we have the Scottish Solidarity with Kurdistan Facebook page. So use that as a source of information. We will publicise these things there. And early in the new year, we will call more meetings such as this. And wherever you can organise a meeting, in your town, in your community, we stand. Ask your local community, ask your trade union, ask whatever political party, organise a meeting, invite one of us, one of you, to come and speak so we get this message out. And we will try to coordinate that as best we can. Finally, we need to all work together That doesn't mean that Rose and I can organise everything. It means we ask you to organise things and tell us, we'll tell everybody else. Through that we can build a much wider movement. Ultimately we want to have thousands of people on the street demonstrating to support the Kurdish community. Next year is the 20th anniversary of Osman's imprisonment. It will be 70th birthday. And we want to ensure by that time that we are able to mobilise thousands of people on the street and demand for his release, the delist of the PKK and the freedom for the Kurdish people here as well as in Turkey. And we can do that together.
Thank you so much for coming along, everybody.
Has there not protest been organised? Like, because, I mean, should there not be a protest called here and now, and the next week, to make sure the authorities know that people are actually going to be out in the street, telling everybody that their people are being imprisoned now? Why the delay? Why are we waiting to have another meeting to discuss the same? Why don't we go and protest now? This weekend, Saturday, call a protest.
Ale boci era davni și du se hafte get hasali tazın ca xopşandani gidirip kaydı. Ay yemek çıkın bu kasane kele zindana mesta. Abi çiyan bu. Boci xopşandani.
Yak çapı kayın böyle.
I know because we run out of time, but it's really important to answer this question. There was coming from here, what we can do for those that are in prison. But I don't know how many people are in prison and what's their situation.
Nobody's been detained. They've been charged with their release.
باشا ئاگادار یعنی کەس تاوانبار نەکراوە خەڵکانی گیراون بەرامبەر دراوەیە ئەچی بۆ پۆلیسی و کۆمەڵی زانیاری لێبرسێت بەڵام ئەمە هەنگاوێکی خەتەرە ئەمە گەری بەبەر بەبەر نەگرین درێژەیە پێشێت و ئەبێ بەڕاستی
26 مارک بانکۆڵیە چی نازانم باشترین چارەسەرە دەست پێ بکەین خەڵکی زۆر پێ دەژێت.
This gentleman suggesting why we not organizing a demonstration on 26. I don't know, bank holiday. It's a Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. Boxing Day.
Boxing Day. A creation day. This is one of the options. We can do that. I would like to say something about. Steve, can I suggest very briefly about if someone at risk or worried that police might ask you or stop you. Could we organize, set up a hotline or something like among ourselves hotline? If you have some problem, then you can text us. You can tell your friend. Yeah. You can just do something. Then we can come on solidarity. We can at least we can do something on behalf of you if you are in prison or in police station. Yes. أما بس إنه أبي hotline number الدروس كان هؤلاء لريف communication كان لريف بيجاكوا كتلفونك ياخذ ادرس اشتبكين اگر كشيت تابو حتما فاين نامه بين رولي جيران بون من بوليس قلت مي تكايا اگر بيني بوش مع اما تواني خلكاني كنت بخوم عن خوب كيلو بين بول بوليس ياخذ اشتبكين كتو بيتنا بيوجي باشا يا بشيك بهاوركت عن بلين هر کس شتێکی وای بەسرات کایە بەلانی کە بۆ بەهاورەکەت بڵێ هاورەکەش دوور و نووسیگەمە ناسێت و بێخەڵکی تر زیاتر بڵێن شکات بکەن جوزام قسە بکەن بۆی بگاتە دەنگی جێگەی تر بۆی پشتیوانی یەکتر
Just on that point then, I think on the point about information, yes. I mean, within the Kurdish community there's a variety of different organisations and groups who already, to a certain extent, already have that. In Edinburgh, the Kurdish Community Centre is quite a good, solid network, so when somebody is arrested, very quickly others get to know about it, and we're able to very quickly respond within the Kurdish community themselves. And we've now identified a number of lawyers that we can very quickly get on board, so that's already in place in some areas.
لا أدمر أمشطانا هي أوان أقدار بيتو كاركان خيراك سبيشيري يكثر أقداركن يعني لأن هي بوي أيوة سيبكا.
We need to we need to spread that out a wee bit. I support, I'm looking for people in the Kurdish community to tell us what exists within the Kurdish community in Glasgow, whether we do need to set something up or is it already there. So what look
يا رش معنا بزين أجرني بكارك إنجاز بحسب بزين أجرني يشتكي واقعين بوي تكو كاربين وبشتكي واقع يكتر على ذاك كينوا يا أمريكا لبيني كمان رجع زوزو كم بيعمل أما الروسي وكل سياتك أمريكا كين أشتري أبغى خيرا بني أمريكا بيجي يقوم بسيكوا على ذاك.
But certainly on our website and our Facebook page, we will put details of information.
بدهم يعني بلا page وطبعا مثلا يعني أنا داني وحتما اليوم شو كان قصة كن جالس كاب زورني قصة زيادة بين بلام أتوانم اليوم قصير كن يأكل بلام.
In terms of how we go forward, Jim can explain a wee bit why we called these meetings last night and tonight, in terms of trying to have this discussion so we actually give a bit of confidence to the community, but also have a discussion as to how we take that forward.
أما جامكو بنوع أو زيادة لو كبزان ما يقول شيء كين ولا تقول كين دهات وشيء كين وهنجامي دهات ودروس كين شيء كين بريان مثلا.
And I think one of the things that comes out of this, yes, if people want to have demonstrations, they want to do that, then by all means, we're not a central committee making all these decisions. That's what happens.
لا صلاة هلا يمنية ما عندنا وكالية تركين وش صلاة لا وتواني كانوا شاركين كان بيكوا بيشنيار مثلا مستيو.
أيوة شو توان كانوا شاركين كان إما بشجيري تانا كان بوني أرجعوري إما كان يمشتك.
هذا صعبين هذا مشكلة خم عندي تأثر في كذا كانوا يقولون أقول سكرت أنا
لكن كان إما أم شو رمان ورك توما كبخو بخش رمان ورك.
أسكيل سر لازم يتبع جناب تام لازم يكون لازم تعليمات من دفع كمان شيء برا وكودية وحسين مش مانع
أزانك سياساتنا بكرة شو برا ويبكوا بينو جاي يقصفين يعني تو أمشي تبرر
Hang on a second. We have to understand why these meetings were called.
أبين جو بقرنا بقى عندنا بوشي أمكو بنو يكلاو هذا في واحد مشتري مشتري
The young guy from the RCP, the Revolutionary Communist Party.
RCG, Ben from RCG.
These points are good points. Last night and tonight were called expressly to give information to the public. They were not only for the Kurdish community. These networks were trying to spread out to bring different left solidarity groups within Scotland and Central Scotland. From these meetings, it was to move forward but it wasn't only designed for Kurdish people. That's basically all of it.
The left are not here, James, but no, the left are not here. There's like one or two
there is not the basis that you think there may be. There is no unified position here.
It's not a protest on Sunday.
There is not any unified position. But you can do that elsewhere. Call another meeting.
بس يعني هو بيكاوالي زور كس شقكان ليلة من خلقي كاملة راسة طواب بلان كاية بيتعقدوا بأمير ما بالأمس بوتاينيا أمس سرطايا وأمس سرطايا شركي يديروا ديرشا ويبيعنا من ليلة